All right, guys, this is Crazy Kev here. I'm here with my man Hunter Lee. Hunter, how we doing, my man?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. And you just mentioned, you're trying to get a fight booked. I mean, talk to us a little bit more about how training's going and what's maybe next for you.
Um, so yeah, training's been going really well, and I think from what I'm hearing is most likely April is when I'll be back in there next. Just kind of like waiting on the promotion. We've had to push back a few shows. We've had to cancel a few shows, and I'm just waiting on them to set it up because I'm signed to Unified for right now, and so it's kind of just waiting on them to get me in there.
Nice, nice. So this fight will be outside of Unified, you mentioned?
No. This one it's in Unified, so I'm signed with Unified, I believe, until June.
Okay.
So I think they're supposed to offer me 3 fights in a year. I think they're planning to do April and then another one before June if possible.
Nice, nice. So that's definitely awesome. I'm glad to hear you kind of got the ball rolling a little bit. And you
Yeah.
mentioned as well too, not too long ago, is you kind of have problems getting fights. Why do you think that is?
Um, Partially it's being so Unified. I believe it's like the top Canadian promotion. Even still, it's like tough to find guys in Canada willing to fight me. Um, so they have to go outside of Canada, and then also there's a problem with when you go outside of Canada, you got to make sure that guys don't have criminal records because then they won't be able to get in the country. And then there's like some people that just don't want to leave the country if they can find fights in their own country, and it's like it's a whole hassle. So it is a little bit better when you can just go to wherever those people are and you're not signed to a promotion. But yeah, for right now, we're making it work, and I have a good management team that's like searching for people for me now. So we should be able to get a couple fights in this year for sure.
Very nice, very nice. That's definitely awesome. And you mentioned, you're hoping to get that fight soon in April, but what are maybe some of your goals that you might have in 2025 at the moment?
Uh, not much other than fighting for right now. Like life's pretty good. Basically just I want to get back in that cage. I want to be as active as possible. And yeah, I just want to put together like a good active win streak.
Yeah, no, that's definitely awesome, man. 100%. And you mentioned that Unified is one of the best promotions in Canada. I definitely agree. And with that being said, I mean, how do you like fighting over there, and how's the promotion kind of treating you?
Yeah, they're treating me really good and everything, and it's good fighting there. They put on a good show. It's on Fight Pass, so you can't complain. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The only complaint I would have is I'd like to be a little more active, but I think that's going to be my problem anywhere I go because I do have pretty extensive wrestling background. I medaled at the U20 World Championships, and there's not a high level of wrestling in Canada, so that's pretty scary to a lot of guys, especially in Canada.
Yeah. No, that's what I was going to say. I was actually going to ask you that as well. Do you think it's actually kind of like a good thing in a sense that you're like having trouble finding fights? Because there's a lot of people that might maybe worried about your wrestling background. It kind of proves that maybe you could be at the next level one day.
Yeah, I think so. It's weird because I'm coming from a wrestling background where you sign up for a tournament, you make weight, and you compete. Doesn't matter who shows up, you know exactly when you're competing. Whereas in MMA now, it's like if you're really good, then it's harder for you to compete, it feels like, because people don't want to risk it against you unless you already have like a really big record for them to I don't know. Unless you already have a really big record, guys aren't willing to fight you if they know you're good.
Fair enough. That definitely makes sense. It's definitely some interesting insight. And you started your wrestling background around when you were 8 years old. I mean, talk to us a little bit more about kind of how you got into it.
Yeah, so kind of weird. I'm not from like a big sort of wrestling area. I'm from a small town, like 5,000 people. We're about 6 hours north from the nearest city. It's just way up there in the middle of nowhere in Canada. And there was just a elementary school wrestling program at my school for some reason. We trained like once a week at lunchtimes, and I was already like my dad was a big fan of the UFC, and so me and my brothers always watched it with him. We played the video games, and we would always just like fight each other, pretend we were in the UFC. So we saw that there was a wrestling program at our school, and so we were like, we got to join that. And then it kind of just died out while we were there because it's not a big school in the first place. And basically, me and my brother were the only ones still wrestling once I got to high school. So we went down to Saskatoon, which is like the nearest major city, about 6 hours. And we kind of connected with the coaches down there, and then we would go down there like once a month, train with them for a little bit. They would give us some stuff to work on. We would go back to Flin Flon, work on it, and that's kind of how we went all through high school. And we competed at multiple world championships, just training in my backyard, setting the mats up, not stealing them, but borrowing them from the school in the summer, and putting them in our garage, and then rolling them out and training in our backyard, and then go compete against guys that have some top training. So it was definitely interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds interesting, man, for sure. And with you having that wrestling background at a young age, did you ever have any dreams of like potentially going to the WWE? I know it's a little bit different, but I was just curious about that.
No, I was never that big into WWE. I know some guys
Okay,
were, but my interest for wrestling came more from watching UFC. So
fair
UFC
enough.
was definitely the path that I was interested in going. I did definitely think about it'd be kind of interesting going to WWE once I started seeing some like past teammates and stuff. They were getting that like visit where they got to go down and like train at the WWE training center for like a trial or whatever it was. And I started seeing some guys doing that, and I was like, that could be interesting. But I think my dream is definitely go to the UFC, compete in the UFC, and yeah, whatever happens from there, we'll see.
Yeah, no, I definitely think MMA is a good path for you for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, with that being said, too, another thing I was curious about as well, too, with your MMA career is, obviously you had a great wrestling background, but when did you kind of get into the striking aspect? Talk to us a bit more about that.
Um, so when I was like 14 or 13 or something like that, my wrestling coach in high school, he actually was an MMA fighter, so I would go and do some striking with those guys here or there for about a year and a half before I like fully focused on wrestling and just cut everything else out. So I trained with them for like a year and a half when I was younger, just in a garage with a couple like retired pro fighters. And then I didn't pick it up again until I think it would have been 2020, like right after sort of the COVID. Like we got our back in the gyms. That's kind of when I started doing the full MMA, striking, jujitsu, all that again.
Very nice. That definitely
Yeah.
makes sense. And with you mentioning you were growing up kind of being a UFC fan, I believe the UFC is rumored to be going to Montreal in May. Could that maybe be somewhere where you would kind of go as a fan to watch?
No, Montreal's a little bit far from me. I debated on going to the Edmonton one. That's a close enough drive. I could do it. I think it's like 5 or 6 hours from me. But Montreal's expensive to fly in. It's a little bit too far to drive, so I'll
Fair
wait
enough.
till it comes back closer.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That definitely makes sense. And obviously you're a beast and whatnot in the cage. But what do you typically like to do outside the cage when you're not in there training and fighting?
Um, Not much. I teach, so I'm like a phys ed teacher, so I do that.
Nice.
And then just yeah, not much else. Just fight, teach phys ed, and hang out.
There you go, living the dream. Now you got a bunch of tattoos as well too, man. What are maybe some of your favorite tattoos you got?
I got a few favorite ones. I like. So I don't know if you can see that one. It's a
Oh yeah.
boxing chicken.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I
I
like
like it.
that one. What do I like? I like this one. I got my whole Instagram is
Oh,
just filled with
sweet.
monkeys. So I got a monkey tattooed on my arm. This one is the one that people always notice.
Yeah,
The
that's sweet.
colors I think look the best on that one.
Yeah.
And then I have my first one is on my foot. It was given to me by my friend in a basement, and we all got like matching, just like we all lived together at this house, so we just tattooed the address, like the numbers, like our street address onto our bodies in some way. So I have like matching tattoos with like a bunch of the guys that I lived with for like 5 years. So that one I also like, even though it doesn't look great, but at least it's small and on my foot.
Well, there you go, man. Well, your tattoos are definitely sick, but I'd like to know the inspiration behind that boxing chicken and the monkey as well, man.
The monkey is literally just my whole Instagram, my explore page, whatever. I just go on there. It's all monkeys. I always just like every time I see a monkey video.
Nice.
And then the boxing chicken, I was like I went to there's a tattoo convention here, so I was like I'm gonna get a boxing tattoo, whatever boxing one I can find. If I find like a flash sheet with like boxing gloves, I'll just grab that one. And I was looking through them and I saw the boxing chicken and I was like, that's the best boxing tattoo I've seen so far today, so I'm gonna get that one.
Yeah, man, it's definitely unique. I definitely love it, man. That's definitely some good
Yeah.
stuff there. And when you first started doing wrestling and stuff, what was maybe like a hard technique or something for you to kind of master when you first kind of started?
Hard technique to master, I would say. Uh, Something hard for me to master was defense.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
had I had no defense, so I don't know if that was like hard for me to master or it's just like uh, I think the style of wrestling in Saskatchewan, it's very much like just push the offense. Offense is defense kind of thing. Like if you just outpace them, you're gonna win the match. Um, and so we didn't train much defense. So I've been going through my old wrestling matches and posting them on my social media a little bit. And some of them are like it's just chaos because I had so much offense and no defense. I'll have matches where the score is like 22-17 and like 22-12, and it's just like it's a 6 minute match, so we're taking each other down like 15 times each in a 6 minute match. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, I would say defense is my craziest or my toughest thing to figure out.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense for sure. I would kind of agree with that for me as well too, even. And with another thing I was curious about as well too, with your MMA career that you kind of got going on, how long could it maybe take to maybe see you in the UFC one day in the future?
I think that with my wrestling background and being if I can stay undefeated, I think I could potentially get there within like a year or two. Um, they seem to let you in around like 5-0 if you have a background in something else, like a wrestler or like a good kickboxer. If you're like 5-0, they'll let you on the contender series around then. If you have a loss, they usually make you wait a little bit, like 8-1, 9-1, that kind of thing. I feel like, but as long as I can stay undefeated, I feel like I could get there within 3 fights or so.
Nice. No, I definitely think that kind of makes sense as well too. And with your wrestling background, do you believe that wrestling is maybe the best base for MMA?
I think it has to be. There's been some kickboxers with Adesanya and Pereira and those guys coming in and showing that they can be effective too once they figure out how to stop the takedown. But there's so many guys that came in from a wrestling background that like I think it has to be the most effective one to start with.
Yeah, I would definitely agree as well too. And I believe with wrestling, it obviously takes a lot of cardio as well too. And with that being said, what do you kind of do in the gym to kind of get your cardio top notch?
I like to spar. That's
There you go.
coming from a wrestling background. I don't know. I don't know how other people's wrestling is. Like I said, Saskatchewan, we're very big on just like go go go. We're like a farming area, so it's like if you could picture like Iowa, how that area would be. It's similar, right? So like we did not much technique. We did a lot of just like live wrestling and scrapping it out in practice, and I kind of carry that over a little bit with me into the MMA. Some guys don't like to spar much. I like to spar like 3 times a week at least, and really get like a feel for it. That's how I push my cardio. I'll do like some running here or there as well. I'll do my strength conditioning. I'll do pads, all that stuff. But I think nothing beats sparring and just like live grappling.
Nice. Oh yeah, that definitely sounds like a great time as well too. And the gym you train at, what are the vibes kind of like? What kind of music you like to listen to when you're in there training?
It's always a mixture. Like I feel like yeah, I've been in some gyms where it's just like hard rap, and I like that. It's good, but I like a mixture. So like sometimes at our gym, it'll be like 2000s hits. It'll be like 80s hits. It'll be like EDM music. It switches up all the time. We don't have like a set vibe. I guess it kind of yeah, it just changes all the time.
I like it. That's definitely pretty cool. You guys switch it up. And
Yeah.
one thing about me is I'm a Taekwondo instructor. I've been teaching for about 6 years now, and I kind of love what I do. And with that being said, with all the guys I got at my gym, what advice would you give them to keep on coming into the gym to get better and better every class?
Just show up. That's the main thing. Is as long as you're there, like even if you feel like you can only give like 20, like it changes a little bit if you're training enough that you're overtrained, then this doesn't apply to you. But if you're the normal person and you are working out a normal amount and you don't feel like going in and you're like I'm only going to be able to give like 50% today, that's 50% is a whole lot more than 0%, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
just showing up is such a big part of it. I would say even if you're like overtrained, showing up and doing something is still probably more beneficial, just
Yeah.
like
No, yeah.
technique part even.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's a good way to kind of think of it. And with that being said, it's been awesome having you on the show. What's maybe your final message out there for the fans watching this video?
uh Final message. Yeah, if any 185-pound fighter or between 185 or 170, somewhere in there, if anyone wants to fight me, send me a message on Instagram and I'll connect you with my managers and we can get it set up. That's pretty much my final message.
I like it. Now, I was gonna say before I let you go, I did hear that in another interview. Are you still open to having fights at like 205, 185, and 170? Because I know you took a fight at 205, I believe, as well.
Yeah. So I fought at 205 before. It was on like a week's notice, and I weighed in at like 200 pounds. It was my very first fight, and like depends on the opponent for 205 because I'm really not a 205er. I should be a 170 or I walk around at like 195 pounds. Um, but I'm not I'm not against the idea of it. I would just prefer to fight 170 or 185.
Fair enough. No, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I threw that out there in case there's any 205ers, in case they want to maybe DM you as well too.
Yeah. We'll see. If you're like a 6'5", 6'6", 205er that cuts like 30 pounds and you're like 6-0, I'm probably not gonna take that fight. That's a little
No.
bit too big and a little bit too skilled for me, but I'll take that fight. 6-0 guys at like 170, 185. That's just I can't go up two weight classes and fight a really tough opponent. You gotta check yourself at some point.
Yes, no, I definitely hear you. I'm not trying to get you smoked. So, yeah, man, like I said, thank you so much for coming on the show. It means a lot to me, and I'm looking forward to your fight in April, and hopefully we can stay in touch and do another one in the future, my man.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. This has been awesome.